What is going on, Governors? Chisgule here, and today we're going to show you how we picked up a top placement in the race against time. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Race Against the Time is a really fun event where you're up against the clock to beat as many barbarians as you can, and you can bring some friends to do it. Let's very briefly go over the rules. You can see here we picked up 4th place in this event so far. It could change. At the time we landed that score, we actually had 1st place. It's been beaten since then, but let's talk about exactly how this is done. Now, in the Race Against Time, you battle barbarians. The higher the level of barbarian that you beat, the more points you get, and the more marches that you bring to do that with, the more points that you get, and everybody who hits the barbarian that dies is getting points. So you can bring your friends and you can do this event all together. Now, you start with a certain amount of time on the clock, and as you beat barbarians, you actually get more time onto the clock. A total of 9 minutes can be obtained if you're really smashing barbarians quickly and effectively. And at the end, you get your final score at the conclusion of that time. And you only get 3 attempts per day when you're running this event. So you got to hit start, fire up the event, start battling barbs furiously, and boom, it'll tell you when the event ends. So let's head over to the footage of our attempt where we, for a time, had 1st place, and we will show you exactly what this looks like. All right, here we go. We're at the starting line for the Race Against Time. We did this with 3 other people. Worth mentioning, we weren't the organizer here. We were just along for the ride. If you're trying to get 1st place, I would highly recommend that you do this in a voice chat. You could try it without that, but I don't think it's going to go particularly well at this moment. We're in voice saying, all right, everybody get ready, get to the prepare screen, get ready to hit start. We're all next to the barb that we've selected, and it's very important to mention that you want to find a really great spot to go hunt your barbarians. This is critically important. You want to find a nice tight cluster of barbarians to go smash, 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 moving down the field so you spend less time walking and more time smashing. So where you position yourself at the start of this timer, which I guess you see up over here, is critically important, but of course there's more to it. So position is one thing to be thinking about. The next thing to be thinking about is buffs. We're using a 10% march speed rune to go faster. We've got Unbridled Progress, which is the Alliance buff, offering another 10% march speed, which is tremendously helpful. And in addition, we are rocking a 50% army expansion with T5 troops. Now, I think that was probably a little aggressive, but here you are. We're off to the races. Bada boom. You can see our points up at the top. They'll accumulate over the course of this, and these barbarians pop like that. I mean, they just combust, kaboom, explode. I don't know. I need some sort of editor to do like special effects for this sort of a thing, right? You can see here the way we're getting all of our marches to hit the target we want to hit is by tapping the target and using the multi-select to attack, and we always line that up before the barbarian we're actively fighting has been defeated. So when we're on voice with each other, we're saying, all right, we're going to do the 31, then the 33, then the 33, right? And you can sort of see where on the map we're going to go and be headed here. I think in this particular instance, we end up running out of barbarians toward the end of this. We should have snagged this 30 that was really close. We end up just skipping right past it to go into that tight cluster that's sort of off to our left and then up north. So that is really important to be thinking about, tying back into my first 2 points. You want to think about, okay, where are we going to do this? What are the buffs we're going to use? We also happen to have a 10% attack rune. We did this right after our Arc of Osiris, which is why we have some, really nice buffs going. I think I just said 10% attack rune. 10% attack token. It's a 10% attack token. You get that in the VIP shop. So the last thing you want to be thinking about is the marches themselves. What marches of troops are you going to bring to this fight in order to make this happen? Now, if you're doing this with a large group, You want to try and make sure that everybody goes at about the same speed. Otherwise, you're going to end up in a situation where people are not going to hit each barb with all of their marches, and that is a thing that's going to happen over the course of this video, in part because we sometimes switch direction a little bit, in part because we're moving pretty fast and it's hard to coordinate. I would recommend that with this many people, we definitely didn't even need the army expansions at all. We could have done it just fine without them and totally slayed. I think here we're also going to cut in a direction and avoid some barbs off to the right that in hindsight we probably should have picked up, but whatever, it's fine. So you can see the time started at a much lower amount than it is now. It's ticked up a fair amount, and at this point, we're not getting any additional time. We killed so many barbs so fast that we've maxed out the amount of time that we get in this event, which is 9 minutes. So we're cruising around barb to barb, hitting these things, and I want to talk with you about the marches that we used for this particular fight, and it's going to vary based on what builds you have. It's going to vary based on the skill levels of your commanders, but let me give you some guiding principles to help you figure this out. And at the very end, we'll go back and show you the exact sort of marches we've been using here. So the idea is that as a primary commander, you always want to have a peacekeeper. The reason you want to use a peacekeeper is that they're going to reduce the number of action points required to battle each barb. That matters a lot when you're going as fast as we were here. We kill something like 30 barbarians. We burn through something like 5,000 plus action points. And we lined up all of those action points in advance of actually starting this. That way we didn't have to worry about it. You can see here I'm going in and claiming my mail because it says that the rewards are overflowing. I'm not going to get my rewards here. It's more important to optimize for just killing these barbs. I'm probably looking in my inbox at times when I shouldn't. I should be solely focused on the task at hand, but it's fine. So we separate out the 5 peacekeepers, and we want to be very cognizant of which peacekeepers are fast and which peacekeepers are slow. So for instance, it's my experience that Lohar is kind of slow, so we pair Lohar with someone like Baibars, who's going to give a march speed boost at the conclusion of combat. Same is true with a commander like Boudica. Boudica is slower, so we need to make sure that she's paired with someone that either gives her some march speed at the conclusion of combat or has a lot of march speed to begin with. I believe we paired maybe Khan, who's got 15% march speed, with one of those commanders. And again, I'll give you that breakdown in a moment. And some commanders we actually needed to kind of slow down a little bit. So for instance, our Cao Cao has the fastest mobility build in the game for Ark of Osiris. And we needed to pair Cao Cao with no other commander that gave any other cavalry march speed boosts of any kind, because then they would have been going way too fast. Now, the way that you can check the relative march speed of all of your marches is simply by selecting one barbarian that you see on the map, and you act as if you would attack it with all your marches. And you can see even now in the video, it's showing you the march times of all of my marches over here. They're roughly even. There's a couple seconds off here and there because we're doing some longer marches now, but they're roughly even. But that's how you know whether or not you're kind of on target, if your march times are roughly even for each of those marches that you're using for this challenge. As we were doing this, we again felt like we were going a little too fast, and occasionally marches lag behind. There's at least one instance where 2 of my marches don't even connect with the barb. And, you know, we're in Zone 5 right now. We're in KVK when this event is taking place. So we're in Zone 5, and the reason that we're doing this in Zone 5, instead of on our Alliance territory, is that we felt as though the benefit of hitting the higher level barbs would be more important to us. It would get more points for us than being on our own Alliance territory for the attack boosts, which we clearly did not need, and the march speed boosts, which, like, yes, are helpful, but I don't know, we went to the cluster of barbarians. Now, there's a few things that make this event really hard to do. One thing that makes this event hard to do is the fact that a whole bunch of other people in the kingdom are doing this too, and you're probably not the only one who's noticed this amazing cluster of barbarians that you want to go and hit. In fact, assuredly, other people are going to be hunting that same area, so just be really careful. You might even need to tell your alliance members, like, hey, like, we're going to be here. I don't know how you do this. Like, everybody's trying to do this thing together, right? But, you know, you got to move fast on this piece of land that you want to do this challenge on. Otherwise, some other group could come in and invade. Now, here we had a moment of panic, realizing that we had thought there were perhaps some barbs here at the start, but, like, maybe somebody else came in and cleared them out. Maybe we just miscalculated how far we would get and where we would land. I don't remember how it exactly unfolded. Either of those are possible. Here you can see two of my troops didn't even make it to connect to that last set of barbs, and we're going to have to do a really long walk to get to a next set of barbs. Now, if you were doing this by yourself, you could use a title like the Justice to get 10% more march speed. The problem is that because we're doing this as a group, and we want to make sure everybody's hitting these barbs at the same time, and because these things are popping the second we get to them, we didn't want any one player to have the Justice because that would be sort of problematic for making our march speeds relatively even. Another thing that you see is we've got our verification that's popped up at the top of the screen here. You definitely don't want to have to verify your account in the middle of that run through. Super awkward, so just make sure you're not going to have to do that. And at this moment, we're calculating where we're going to end up. You can see there's another player starting to encroach on the area that we wanted to go. And, you know, it's possible the barbs that we had thought were here before were cleared out, or maybe there just weren't barbs here. But we now make our way to this cluster for the final set of barbs. We got a little bit split in where we thought we were going to go, but folks are going to change course and line up with where we're going. We'll set them a little bit behind. And even though these barbs, the lower level ones, just pop, the higher level ones do take a couple seconds to hit and kill. So there's some amount of balance here between bringing lots of power and using those full 50% expansions like we were, and making sure that everybody can get their darn hits in. So here we go and we hit this 27, and you see we're barely going to have enough time to hit this next one, and we're not going to kill it. So close. So close. But I don't, well, maybe killing the 27 was the difference maker. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Seconds matter, but here we ended up with a first place score, which will again be overturned by these same individuals that I was playing with here. I ended up having to do something else, but they must have found a really great spot of barbs and went and smashed them. So let's take it back to my account now. I'll show you my exact marches. Okay, here are the exact marches that we used. We used Minamoto with bars. I suppose my Minamoto needed a little bit of boost, and if you were watching really closely on my video, Minamoto actually did end up being a little bit faster than everybody else, which was sort of problematic. Well, I don't know that it was exactly problematic, but it wasn't the best, wasn't the worst. I mean, it's hard to align everything perfectly. Our next march is Lohar with Attila. Attila's got an extra 9% of march speed, which seemed to make this march go fast enough. Our next march was Belisarius with Sun Tzu. It really didn't even matter who this was. It could have been Pelagius if we had wanted. The AoE was really kind of irrelevant. These things were popping so fast it didn't matter. We wanted a commander that wasn't going to make this march go faster, basically. And Sun Tzu certainly wasn't going to do that. Here you can see our Cao Cao was with Ethelfled, and our Boudica was with Dragonlancer. That actually was the only commander in that entire lineup that was getting any experience as Dragonlancer comedically. Do I think that was a perfect set of marches? No. But the idea is that you make a set of marches that make sense for whatever march speed, talent, and skills that you've got, so that you arrive roughly at the same time. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you want to see the last time we did Race Against Time, where we also got first place, I'll have a card up in the top, and if you didn't see it yesterday, our restart project was betrayed, and that was a really spicy live stream. You won't want to miss that. There's rallies, cities are hit, stuff burns. It's totally crazy, and Tomorrow, we're going to be posting a video about lessons learned from that crazy civil war in 1507. So if you like Rise of Kingdoms videos, please do like and subscribe to get more content just like this delivered to you daily. And until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.